Zeref Aker, Sefezem Ser, Amit Nefer Amu Aset.
Simut Bad. I know you're there.
Sidima Farmatiti Amun Amunoi Sine Sisi Amun Nasawut Natero.
Fiction is sick, scripting the most dangerous since 96. Fucking with rough, what are you nuts? So sick, murder is the diagnosis, I'm cold blitz. Fuck keeping it real, that's standard. I stay black like I stay looking beige, drawing down babes at random. For real, killing them, billing them, 6 million ways to make a raise, I wager them.
We've known this man for years. He is the modern day Robin Hood.
Ain't got a thing. I don't like him, he don't like me. I've come to find out that it's about all of us becoming one, to unite, to fight against that man called Cain.
News on the hour. A family of 8 burned to death in Mountain View yesterday, heaving the homicide rate to a staggering 1,405, 66 less than last year's record-breaking body count.
There's the word he's talking about. Elohim. Don't get up there and try and teach me a Hebrew lesson.
Named Charles Darwin.
Who was he called?
Was named Charles Darwin.
Because he was in whose class? Robert Taylor's class. So he got unnerved when he heard what was happening to Robert Taylor and his views. We'll soon find out what some of his views were. Who obviously was aware of the scholarship in Vincent that Jesus and other biblical characters in reality were what?
Mythical.
And what?
Historical.
Charles Darwin was his student.
Yeah.
That's why I said you need to research who Robert Taylor was. After his release, Taylor became a medical doctor, but the abuse he endured was so traumatic that he supposedly recanted his view just so he could survive.
Wow.
What did that say? So listen. Do you understand? And he was the one, being white, they're like, behave yourself, son. Go and look at the treatment they used to give him. The man couldn't even feed his family at one point. But yet still, when he was in prison, he done his best work. You understand? Solitude is a bitch. That's why when you look at the tarot card, the hermetic card is relevant. Sometimes you have to be a hermit. That's what Dart is. Knowing oneself. Spending time alone. Do you understand? Not always somebody around you bombarded you can't think. Constantly. Okay. When you become a Hebrew, it's one who has crossed over into higher knowledge. The Sanctum Sanctorum. You'll now become an upper Freemason, a Master Mason. That's why I keep shouting, you cannot be a Hebrew Israelite.
Choose an order of Freemason above that of Christians, but below that of Hebrew. Profess that the name of the supreme deity is unutterable and invariably substitute in the stead of the word, which we absurdly and erroneously pronounce Jehovah Adonai, which is literally my Lord, with the pronoun suffix to the plural of the word Adonis. The well-known name of the beautiful son of Mythology, and never meaning anything else than the sun itself.
Never meaning anything else than the sun itself. What did I say Mara was?
Fire. Water.
Huh? Didn't I show you Bina? Which is one of her name? And then which is Adonis, her son, which is the sun itself? How did they explain the Egyptian creation story? That is on, page 261, and I think it's also on page 55, where he goes into the story. But we'll get there, come. So who is this? Is this Moses?
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
You remember this picture of Moses? Who's this? Read.
We might also mention that Bacchus and later Moses was called the lawgiver.
Stop. Times Akos. Akos became Jack. That's why they give you the story. Jack and Jill. And what? Jill came tumbling after. The sun and the moon. Humpty Dumpty sat on a ward. Had a great fall. All the king horses and all the king men. What do you think this is? By the time the man go home, he knows like that. Let me get some books off my shop. So Moses, Bacchus was picked up in a box that floated on the water. Bacchus did what? Bacchus was picked up in a box that floated on the water, and so was Moses. Bacchus had two mothers, one by nature, one by adoption. So had Moses. Bacchus had an army, enjoyed the light of the sun at night. Moses had his army and pillar at the fire by night. Go and read these stories.
The disciples of Zoroaster, in their profusion of legend of the Master, relate that on day, as he prayed on a high mountain, in the midst of thunder and lightning, fire from heaven, the Lord himself appeared before him, and delivered to him the book of the law. While the king of Persia and the people were assembled together, Zoroaster came down from the mountains unharmed, bringing with him the book of the law, which had been revealed to him by, I'll read that, They called this book the Zend Avesta, which signifies the living word.
Do I need to explain that? Or is it
The author of The Religion of Israel, speaking of Samson, says, the story of Samson and his deeds originated in a solar myth, which was afterwards transformed by the narrator into a saga about a mighty hero and a deliverer of Israel. The very name Samson is derived from the Hebrew word, and it means sun. The hero flowing locks were originally the rays of the sun, and other traces of the old myth have been preserved.
So therefore, we know that Samson had 7 locks. But when you look at the Statue of Liberty, how much rays come from her head?
7.
When you look at the god Serapis, how much letters is in his name?
7.
We must understand why 7 and 12 is mentioned so much in your Bible, because they're a perfect marriage. 7 and 12. They don't know.
That's Chinese.
Jeremiah 18:12. And I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and daughters, and they will eat one another flesh during the stress of the siege, imposed on them by the enemies who seek their life. Jeremiah 19:9. Therefore the father shall eat the son in the midst of you, and the son shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgment on you, and the whole remnant of you will be shattered into all the winds. This is God talking. And we think this is the first story that they've ever mentioned like that. But what about Saturn? Have you seen this? So we know that's Cronus here about to kill his son. Saturnalia.
So the first slaves and masters were equal.
There you go.
I need that because I need to show someone.
Everyone was
Yeah,
treated
I
as a
met
citizen
them
in
from the other day and I said, okay.
It's like Carnival. Carnival, white people and us are friends.
The one day after that.
When I see them motherfuckers the next day, they're like that. I'm like, bitch, she was climbing up on me last night.
To prevent this happening, Saturn swallowed each of the children born to his partner, Ops, Rhea. Thus Ceres, Demeter, Veritas, Vesta, Hestia, Pluto, known as Hades, and Neptune, who is Poseidon, were imprisoned in the stomach of their father. Only the 6th child, Jupiter, Zeus, was saved from his fate. When the baby was substituted for a rock, Jupiter would subsequently usurp the rule of his father in the Great War.
So we know all of these names that they're just calling. Remember, it says only the what?
6th child.
Let's go. This book, I've told you to get it a few years ago. Bible, Myth and Parallel and Religion. I know I told you not to get this, you know why? Because when I watched back my video, I could see myself walking around with it going, get this book. Now, who is Sanctionation? Sanctionation, a Greek, you can go and take his name down and look him up. It's reported a Phoenician author of 3 lost works originally in Phoenician language, surviving only in partial paraphrases and summary of a Greek translation by Philo of Bibulus. That's why I said to you, they don't want to talk about Philo. Yeah? According to the Christians, Bishop Eusebius, who was a bastard and a liar, of Caesarea, these 3 fragments contain Encyclopedia Britannica, Sanctionatius, flowed 13th century BC. Ancient Phoenician writer, all information about him is derived from the works of what? Philo of Bibulus, flourished around 100 AD 100. Up here.
There was an ancient Phoenician story written by
Sanctionation.
who wrote about 1300 years before our era, which is as follows. Saturn, whom the Phoenicians call Israel.
Stop. Saturn who what?
Phoenicians call Israel.
Say it again.
Saturn, whom
Louder than that.
Saturn, whom the Phoenicians call Israel.
There's a problem here. Can we see what the problem is? Saturn, who the Phoenicians called Israel?
Israel.
Why would the Phoenicians call Saturn Israel? When I asked the Hebrew Israelites this, I haven't got no answer now. Do you know what I kept doing? I kept going online and going 1 hour later, still no answer. I'll go back 2 hours, I'll go 2 hours later, still no answer, because they were there running off their mouth. 3 hours later, still no answer. They started texting me privately. I had to text them back and say, text me on the forum. Do you understand? Text me on the public forum where people can see your stupid answer. So I had to text them back, do not email me privately. It's alright, mate. You can text me on the forum. So people can see you, because they don't want these things to come to light. Do you understand? As if when I said to them about the story of Deucalion and the story, and when they talk about King James, and King James was just, and I'm like, what about his other book called Demonology? I'm not telling them nothing about the book. I'm just asking them. Nobody's answering. The only person answering me again was by private message.
So hold on, you're saying that they knew that Saturn was known as Israel?
That's correct.
They knew that.
Who knew that?
This is the Hebrew Israelites.
No, they don't know that.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
But when I put that to them,
So what are they saying to you privately then?
oh, what do you mean? Oh, I looked at that book. He's a white man. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Is the information in there right or wrong? Let's go on. What does it say? Saturn, who the Phoenician called Israel. Read.
Had by a nymph of the country a male child whom he named Jaud.
Who?
Jaud?
Jaud? Sounds like Jehovah.
That is one and only. On the breaking out of a war which brought the country into imminent danger, Saturn erected an altar, brought to it his son, clothed in royal garment, and sacrificed him.
End quote. That's a dagger of Saturn eating his kids. Nothing to do. I spare them their blushes. You didn't read it, eat babies. It's a fable. The ancient name for Saturn is Israel. Why is it called Israel? I told you, Saturn is the only planet with rings around it. Correct? And this is for the Egyptologists. If you want to know who Israel is, go to the Louvre Museum. Look up and you'll see the tablets of Dendera there. How much people is holding up that circle? 12. I say no more.
The Hesperides in the garden, here the apples are on a tree, and the dragon laid on looks more like a single-headed serpent.
I was saying this last time.
Yeah, you said that last time. Laid on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I was like, what next thing was that?
Okay, well what I was saying here is, this could be your Adam and Eve story.
Yeah.
This is the serpent on the pole.
Yeah.
But who's Herusis? This is way before your Bible was written, my friend. There's the date here, 410 to 400 BC. You understand? So, if this is the man that is responsible for a lot of the Hebrew thoughts, then I need to read his work. But when I read his work, he said that you mustn't take the Bible literally.
See that? This in itself, this makes it look stupid. This is the one of the founding fathers.
That's the foundation.
This is what I'm saying.
Of the Torah, and he's saying that as a Jew.
That's what I'm saying.
So when it comes to anti-Semitic this and there's no foundation.
There's no foundation for none of that bullshit. This is what I'm saying to you.
But then see, it's the bullshit that's holding this world together. So
their
once you
world together.
their world,
You understand?
Once you
Once you analyse